Yes, hello, and welcome back once again to the Dynasty Hot Seat. It's the only Dynasty show out there that is certified Inferno. And today we got another guest who's been on the show before. He's back on it again. It's Rich. You can find him on Twitter at Dynasty Island, one of the best minds in the game. Can't wait to get into it. So let's hit that intro music and let's get started. We are back for another week on the Dynasty Hot Seat, and another familiar face back on the show, Rich, who is, Rich, you're actually the first guest on the show that I didn't actually know. You're my first Twitter guest that I spoke to in person before on the show. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's great to have you back on, Rich. You can obviously find over on Twitter at Dynasty Island. He does loads of stuff, including hosting one of the best shows out there, the 5 Yard Dynasty podcast with Liam as well. And Rich, it's great to have you on. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, mate. Thank you ever so much for coming on. It's always an honour, and to be asked back, it means I didn't do an awful job first time, so I really appreciate that. But yeah, Jets are winning. What more can I ask for? It's been a long time, so I can't be anything but happy when that's happening.
The Jets are awesome, Rich. Right? I love watching the Jets. I would have never thought, and maybe you would have never thought, how many dynasty darlings are there in one team? Right? It's amazing.
Yeah, I've got kind of a running bit with Liam that Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall were two of my pre-draft crushes, and then when the Jets drafted them, I was like, oh no, everyone's just going to call me a homer. But it's amazing to see. I can't remember last time we had anyone exciting. I think I read a stat that the Jets haven't had an offensive Pro Bowler since 2012.
Wow.
Which seems slightly mental, but it shows you how barren it's been for offensive talent with the Jets for quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are looking pretty sweet this year, and yeah, even stronger next year, maybe even as well. If you guys draft like you did this year, I mean, things are just going up.
Maybe if we can find a quarterback, we might be all right. Yeah.
Zach Wilson. I do like Zach Wilson, but I'm just like, oh dear. It's not looking the best, but we'll see what we can do. And we're here to talk. We might end up talking some Jets players later, depending on the lineups. But we're here to talk some Dynasty Fantasy Football, Rich. And we're going to start with just some hints and tips that you got. It could be specifically Week 10. It could be just general Dynasty tips, whatever you got for us. So you got 2 tips for us today. So let's hear tip number 1.
Yeah. So my first one is quite simple. Use every resource available. So I think that sometimes there's the obvious resources that we use for kind of assessing dynasty value, whether that be what a player's producing, his age, that kind of thing. But I think there's some fairly basic ones that get forgotten about, and a big one that I bang on about all the time is contracts. I think it's incredibly underutilized, under-resourced within the dynasty space. I sent out a tweet today about just the volume of running backs that could potentially be out of contract at the end of the year, and there's 27 guys that are fantasy relevant that could either be in a new home or find themselves out of a job. And I think that it's something that isn't thought about, isn't used to assess that dynasty value. There's guys like James Conner and Leonard Fournette that might not be producing fantastically, but actually they're under contract for next year, and it would cost their teams more in cap space to get rid of them. So I'm a little bit higher on them than kind of consensus at the moment, because I'm looking at them as a 2-year player rather than most people are kind of viewing them perhaps as a 1-year player.
Super. Yeah. And there's, like you said, was it 27 running backs? There are only 32 teams? And you got 27 of these guys. Plus, the most loaded draft class at running back for a long time.
Exactly that.
There's going to be some huge momentum shifts at the minute at the running back position. And I can hear your dog is itching for that 23 clap.
Yeah, apologies. My dog is normally he goes to sleep when I do a pod. And we've had him for like a month, and he's gone to sleep every time I've done a show. But obviously, I'm guesting on someone else's show, so he's scratching away, and he's great.
It's too hot in the room. The flames from the hot.
Exactly that.
But yeah, I absolutely love that for it to pay attention to those contracts. Really weird. It's kind of like the inverse of wide receiver, right? There's absolutely no. Is it like Juju Smith-Schuster is like the only guy?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's becoming a thing. Last year there was hardly any wide receivers on the free agent market. It's why Christian Kirk got the contract he did, because he was basically the best available. But running back, we've got that shorter shelf life. I think that teams are conscious there's no point in paying running backs. Plus, we've got that amazing 2017 draft class that most of those guys who are on second contracts, whether that's Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, their second contracts are getting to a point where they could be released and could be cut and save cap space. So it's kind of a kind of confluence of like 3 or 4 different things that's meaning that, I've had so many questions over the last 2 weeks about, is Kareem Hunt a buy because he could be a starting running back next year? And it's like, actually, when you look at how many available running backs they're going to be, plus, as you said, this draft class, it's hard to find a spot where he's going to be in a better situation than he is this year as such.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's tricky to navigate, but that's what makes Dynasty fun as well. You gotta take these risks and go for things, and hopefully it all pans out in the end. But yeah, Kareem Hunt, a really interesting one there for sure. So definitely, pay attention to the contract situations. Pay attention to lots of things as well. But yeah, contracts definitely a big one. You got a second tip for us there, Rich, as well?
Yeah, my second one is to just think outside the box to try and scoop up some value. I think that because there's more and more Dynasty content out there, because a lot of leagues, certainly I play in, there's a lot of people from Twitter that are reading and listening to the same podcasts, and we kind of get into a little bit world of that group think. Yeah. And I think that sometimes in order to actually scoop up value, you almost need to think outside the box and do something different. And when there's a consensus sell high and everybody's saying this player is such an obvious sell, do they then become a buy because that drops the price because everybody's screaming sell? Yeah. When everybody's saying, build around young wide receivers, does that mean that actually those sort of middle-aged, I say middle-aged, but like 3rd or 4th year receivers, do they become the value? Is it when we're, everybody's destroying the value of running backs, actually in a startup, could you build around the core of young running backs or something like that? I'm not saying that there's necessarily, it works in all leagues, but I just think that certainly when you're rebuilding, if you just follow the trend of sell off your aging veterans for picks, and you're looking at a 2-3 year rebuild and it can take too long. And I just think sometimes you need to raise that risk profile. You need to think outside the box and do something different, because if you're just doing what everybody else is doing, you're probably going to end up as a mid-table team for the next 2-3 years. And yes, you're doing Dynasty right as such, because it's what people tell you to do. But I think sometimes you just need to think outside the box and do something different.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, because even things like that, like you'll see offers come through, and I'll certainly see offers come through. And the first thing I'll do is look at like the little brackets, the record of the person that's sending it. And I'll be like, right, where are they coming from? Because you can see it coming. Like if someone's trying to sell you like Keenan Allen, for example, and they want someone back because they're trying to rebuild. Like, okay, well, they're trying to rebuild. And now I know that you're trying to rebuild, so I'm going to try and use that against you. So like
exactly that.
People that play are smart as well. So you have to think outside the box and try and get people to not kind of figure it. Don't let yourself get figured out, and don't be afraid to zig whenever other people are zagging. That's one of my favorite things. It doesn't always work out, but it's good. Yeah, I think you're spot on with one thing in one league might work really well, but in another league it might be the complete opposite. So yeah, you gotta take your time, go through each league. And mine, I don't know about you, but my leagues are growing each and every day, it seems. So it takes a bit longer each time, but yeah, take your time with the leagues slowly.
Yeah, I try to avoid admitting quite how many leagues I'm in, but yeah, if I say I set 40 lineups on a Sunday, so yeah, that's kind of hints how many I'm in.
Nice, yeah, that's good. That's more than me. I'm feeling a bit better. That's slightly more than me, so I'm feeling slightly better, Rich. And of course, we forgot, the most important thing at all for you guys to figure out, who to go out and buy and to figure out how exactly work your team is you got to go over to the Dynasty Island Patreon and check out the Dynasty Island trade calculator over there. Isn't that right, Rich?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's I've developing an incredible community. To be honest, it's such an amazing thing. I started it just over a year ago and thought, if 2 or 3 people sign up, it'd be amazing. And I think we're at 49 people now, which is just absolutely wild. So yeah, really amazing community. All of my content, all of my calculators, ranks, values, just random thoughts and graphs that I put together and things like that. So yeah, it's been really good fun. I thoroughly enjoy it, and hopefully there's some good content on there.
Super. So now we're gonna get into our lineups. Now sometimes I go first, sometimes let the guests go first. We're definitely going to save you for last year, Rich, though, because we got a bit of a bombshell to drop actually, which we just realized before we started recording. So I'm gonna pull up one of my teams here, and this is from a team where I'm definitely a contender. I think I'm ranked first at the minute. So we're going to be looking to set my lineup and then maybe even talk about what kind of moves you'd be making here, because the trade deadline isn't quite past in this league. So what you'd be thinking about, what kind of moves you think I should make to make this team even stronger. So let's have a look. I've not touched it from last week. So let's have a little look at my lineup and what it was from last week. I had Trevor Lawrence in at quarterback with Deonta Foreman and Austin Eckler at running back. I've got Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and Devonta Smith in at wide receiver. Evan Ingram was in his tight end. In the flexes, we had Mike Gesicki, Cordell Patterson, and Kenneth Walker with Tom Brady in at quarterback. And then on the bench, we got Brissett and Garoppolo, Sean Watson's there, Herbert, Zach Moss, Dearness Johnson, J.K. Dobbins, on IR, sadly. I think it must be.
This is good. This is a good roster.
Yeah, I'm happy with this one. So I'm pretty pleased with this. We got my IR must be full if I've got Dobbins there. Rivers is there, Calvin Ridley's there, Paris Campbell, Ben Skoranek, Odell Beckham to come back, obviously, Claypool and Greg Dulcich. And yeah, look at that, mate. I feel like I've had
loaded to have that many good players on your IR and still be in the position you are. This is some team.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this team, but I'm just like, man, I've got Rashad Penny and Elijah Mitchell and Javonte Williams. I feel like the last time I did the show as well, my IR was full. Well, there's a lot of players injured at the minute, I suppose, right? So I think most people's IRs are fairly bulging at the minute. But let's have a look and see if we can figure out a lineup to set. And on the taxi, we do have Zach Wilson in there, Nico Collins in there, and Zamir White is sitting in the taxi squad as well if we're really desperate. But I don't think we'll be doing that. So let's go through, and we'll start with overall impressions. Then, Rich, you kind of talked about that. You think did pretty well there with this squad. So what's your overall impressions there?
Yeah, I think it's loaded. I think you've got, three competent options at quarterback. You've obviously got the overall RB1 in Austin Eckler. You've got 2 bona fide studs at receiver in Jefferson and Hill. I was a little bit concerned at tight end, but I'll be honest, the fact that you've got, 2 or 3 competent options and you can play matchups between the 3, I think it's a really good roster. And yeah, I'm not surprised that you're contending in this one. It looks loaded.
Yeah, I'm happy with this one. So hopefully I can go ahead and win the championship in this one. But you never know. It's always interesting to see. Hopefully my injury worries end. And I don't know if I have a decision to make at quarterback really. I mean, we've got.
I think you definitely do.
And Tom Brady. Now, Tom Brady is concerning me a lot. Because he's not very good. That's really why. And then Trevor Lawrence as well. Trevor Lawrence has flashed here and there. Yeah, but I don't know, Rich. What do you think? I've got Jacoby Brissett, who's playing up against the Dolphins, who do give up a good few points, and then Jimmy G, who's playing against the Chargers, who Chargers are kind of getting in the way of themselves at the minute. So, is any of those two kind of standing out there to take in or put out?
Yeah, so I mean, if obviously I've got my ranks pulled up ahead of me, so I've got Jimmy G is the highest ranked QB this week. I've got him at QB 9. I've got Tom Brady at QB 10, and then I've got Trevor Lawrence at QB 11. So it's basically two from those 3, and they're all pretty much in a tier together, back to back. So
let's have a look then. Who's playing who? I mean, Trevor Lawrence is playing Kansas City. Now, I don't know if you do this, right? But a lot of the time, because I'm a Chiefs fan, I'll like kind of happily start players who are playing the Chiefs. If the Chiefs lose, at least I'll like have that padding of doing well in fantasy. Do you do that when the team's playing the Jets?
So I used to go one step further. When I was at uni, I used to go to we'd always head into town after we'd play a game and then go in and watch the games in the evening. And I'd stop off at the little Ladbrokes in town and I'd stick a fiver on the Jets, the team the Jets were playing that week. So my theory was that if the Jets won, I was happy. Yeah. If the Jets lost, I had some more money for drinks. So generally the Jets lost, so I had more money for drinks. So.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that once before back in school days. So that was more, soccer, the football soccer. So I've not done that for against the Chiefs. I couldn't do that. I'd imagine Andy Reid would find out somehow. So so we've got Trevor Lawrence locked in there and Tom Brady locked in. So Rich, the kind of theme of the show is I kind of like you guys call it. I like the guests call it. So you think Jimmy G highest rated? So I should be putting Jimmy G in there.
Jimmy G over Trevor Lawrence is what I'd be doing. I think that matchup. I think the fact that we could potentially see this whole offense healthy. Obviously, Trent Williams is back now. Yeah. Debo's looking like he should be playing potentially this week. And then obviously Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. I think this could be, a fantastic week for Jimmy G.
Yeah. Right. Let's put Jimmy G in there. I like Jimmy G. I've got him in the Scott Fish Bowl as well. So I'll make sure I'll slot him in there too. So hopefully he'll do well there too as well. So
pressure.
And no, it'll be fine. Don't worry. I'm all right. I'm in the playoffs already, so I'm not feeling too bad. So.
Yeah, I wish I could say that. I think I'm 8-10, but I'm scoring really well. I just haven't won many games. I think I'm in the top like 500 or something in terms of points. So I'm just been unlucky.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're on Scott Fishbowl. Shout out to Hannah Rowland, by the way, right?
Oh,
Hannah,
yeah.
Was she in 22nd, 23rd, 24th, something like that?
Incredible is what she's doing.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. So shout out to Hannah, the best member of the Wildcard League One team by far. Right? So let's have a little look at the running back situation. We've got Jonathan Foreman in there, and we've got Austin Eckler there as well. Now, obviously, Eckler's playing in the leader game, so I might move him down into it, more of a flex spot leader. But let's have a look and see our options through there. So we got four. Oh, sorry, Rich.
I was going to say, I'm intrigued to pick your brains on this because I always think I set up lineups slightly different because you said about putting him in the flex spot and stuff like that. What I always do is that I get my lineup set, what I'm happy with, and then I play around moving flex spots and things because I think I want to get my best 2 running backs in my running back spots, my best 3 receivers in my receiver spots, and then I can adjust accordingly. Otherwise, I basically just copy and paste my ranks into my teams. I don't think I get all confused otherwise.
That's what I'll generally do as well. I'll get my solid people, and then it'll be like, right, I can move you here and move you in and out, and I'll get the players I want to start all kind of there, and then I'll shuffle them a bit. Yeah, that's generally what I do as well. So we'll see if we can get that done today. But I imagine Eckler's going to play for sure, right? So the next question is Jonathan Foreman, and we do have Kenneth Walker in there and Cordarrelle Patterson. Again, Patterson's obviously playing in that early game, so if he's starting, I want to put him up there. But apart from that, obviously I've got the injuries to Penny and Mitchell and Williams, so I don't have and J.K. Dobbins, jeez. So I don't have too many other options there. I've got Khalil Herbert, do you think Khalil Herbert is taking over that backfield? He looks a better player than David Montgomery, I think, but we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like I've been trying to talk it into existence for the last 9 months. Khalil Herbert's one of my favourite buys in the offseason because I think he was dirt cheap, and going back to the contract thing we talked about earlier, obviously David Montgomery's a free agent end of the year, and I think that Khalil Herbert was always going to be a shoe-in to get that first shot at the league job in 2024. So I was always hopeful of that. As this season has played out, I think, Herbert's massively outplayed Montgomery, and I can't get my head around why he's not been given a greater shot at the lead back opportunity there.
Yeah, I can't figure it out either. But I mean, Herbert is there. He might score well. He's playing against Detroit, which is usually a pretty favorable matchup for any attacking team. Detroit defense can't really sort it out unless you're playing maybe Green Bay Packers. They can kind of sort it out against those guys. But Would you swap in Herbert for any of those guys mentioned there? We got Walker, Patterson, Foreman, or Eckler. I'm inclined to say no, but what do you think?
No, I mean, as I said, what I'd do is I'd get these 2 running back spots fixed. So I'd go Eckler and Walker in at the running back, and then address the flex spots once we've can assess receivers or running backs who we're going to put in there as such.
Yeah, I think Eckler and Walker are definitely the two strong running backs there. So let's get them locked in. And I very much doubt we're going to be doing anything with Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. This is the guy here, Devonta Smith. He's the one I want to talk about. I love Devonta Smith. Like, I think he's a brilliant player. But this year he is very, very boom or bust, right? He's kind of like a previous version, like another weird incarnation of like a Tyler Lockett, right? Where you don't know what you're going to get. It's either going to go off or it's going to be very, very quiet. I mean, do you own many Devonta Smith shirts? What are you doing with him right now? Are you happy to start him or?
Yeah, I've got quite a lot of Devonta Smith shares. He was another one. I think a lot of the sophomore wide receivers I was pretty high on. I've got a lot of Devonta Smith. I've sadly got a lot of Elijah Moore and Rashad Bateman, which hasn't gone quite as well as Devonta Smith. I think that the boom bust nature of Devonta Smith just kind of comes with the territory. I think that any wide receiver 2 in an offense is always going to be a little bit more boom bust. I think that when we profile towards those lower A dot, traditionally slot type wide receivers, there's a little bit of a safer floor, but you don't quite get the ceiling. Devonta Smith being that, he's not a traditional deep threat, but he has got an increased A dot than a normal receiver. He's being used for a lot of that downfield stuff. He's always going to be boom bust. But for me, he's the perfect, wide receiver 3 flex play, because if he doesn't produce, it doesn't really kill you, because hopefully you've got enough other guys that can kind of get you through a week. But if he does produce, he's almost guaranteed you a win that week. So yeah, I'm happy rostering him as long as he's that, wide receiver 3 type.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's have a little look and see who else we got. Again, I think I'm fairly thin there. I mean, Calvin Ridley obviously can't play until next year, and then Paris Campbell, Ben Skowronek, Odell Beckham, who could end up anywhere. The other one I suppose is Chase Claypool, who has just gone to the Chicago Bears. I mean, he's another kind of boom bust guy as well, right?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that Chase Claypool gets a bit more work, but I wouldn't feel comfortable starting him over Smith, certainly at this point in the season.
Yeah, I'm right with you there, Rich. I think I'll keep Devonta Smith locked in there as well, playing up against the Commanders. And let's have a look at the tight end position then. And we got a couple of tight ends here. We got Evan Ingram, who, hey, by the way, Evan Ingram, how well has he been playing this year, right? He's took a lot of abuse about he's a 1-year wonder, but he's come back and he's looked really good at the Jags. So good for him. And we've got him locked in at the minute. Mike Gesicki is also an option, as is Greg Dulcich, everyone's favorite tight end at the minute, right? Greg Dulcich. So the question is there, who's your favorite out of those 3 there? We got Gesicki, Dulcich, or are we sticking with Evan Ingram, who I think is questionable, but we'll kind of ignore that for now until game time.
I think you got to go Dulcich. He's a top 6 tight end for me this week. Nice. Yeah, he's entering plug and play territory, isn't he?
Yeah, he's looked really, really good, right? And I mean, just how tight end is Greg Dulcich, right? He's got like the hair, he's got like the stash. He's like everyone's favorite tight end rolled up into one kind of.
Can't be a normal looking person and play tight end, can you?
No, not at all. So yeah, gotta love Greg Dulcich. So we'll get him locked in. And now let's address some of these flex positions then, because we got 3 of them here. At the minute, we still got Mike Gesicki playing. We've got Cordarrelle Patterson, and we've got D'Onta Foreman as well. So of the people here, Mike Gesicki maybe stands out to me here as maybe less of a chance to score big than Patterson or Foreman. Are you thinking the same there?
Yeah, 100%. I presume this isn't a tight end premium or anything. No. Looking at scoring, no. Yeah, so I definitely have him as the third of those 3 as such.
Okay, right. So let's have a look then. So out of the people here, I think we can possibly go Khalil Herbert, not Zach Moss from what we've seen. Paris Campbell. I mean, I don't know what's happening at Indianapolis. Is Matt Ryan going to be playing again? What's the other guy called? Ellinger, is he playing? I mean, no one seems to know, right? Unless you got any inside scoops for us, Rich.
Well, Matt Ryan's back at practice today, but I think that he will still be. I think there's probably a better chance that Matt Ryan's the offensive play caller rather than the quarterback, given that they've got no one that's called a play before. So maybe they put Matt Ryan in just so that he can have someone that can call some plays.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan's got more coaching experience than the offensive coordinator, probably, right? So that's
exactly
that's a good idea, right? Who's their head coach now? Guy, was it
Jeff Saturday?
Jeff Saturday, who has barely scraped a winning record for a high school team, is now the head coach.
He's got one playoff win in high school though. He's got a playoff win in high school. So yeah, okay,
fair enough. That's only one more than me and you, though, Rich. That's not that good.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, does British university compare to American high school? I feel like that's probably about the same level.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. So I've got a few British university coaching wins under my belt, so I'll take that.
All right. Well, I'll be faxing your number through the and we'll see if we can get you on the team. That sounds great. So Paris Campbell. I like Paris Campbell fine, but I don't think I'm going to touch him here. Ben Skoranek, he's kind of like a desperation play, I think, most of the time. The one standing out again, it's Chase Claypool for me, or potentially Khalil Herbert to start ahead of Mike Gesicki. Who are you thinking out of those three? Unless I've missed somebody there.
No, so I think at this point, I think it depends on where your kind of team is at, isn't it? Do you need that desperation kind of home run play and boom for the upside? But I think with the state of your roster, to me, I'd just basically go by my ranks and the guy that I think is going to score the most points, and that's Khalil Herbert. So to give you some numbers in terms of where I've got them ranked. So Khalil Herbert, so I do a top flex 250 every week. Yeah. So I've got Khalil Herbert is my super flex. This is, so includes quarterback. So he's ranked 105th.
Yeah.
Paris Campbell's 119, Chase Claypool's 123, and Evan Ingram's 124. So it would be Khalil Herbert for me.
Yeah, happy putting Khalil Herbert in there with a pretty decent matchup as well. And I think that's it, man. I think we're sorted for the lineup. Obviously, we can play around with and I'll do this after. I'll put people in the flex and in the running back positions, and we'll get them all sorted for the way the schedule works. But we've got Jimmy G starting in a quarterback. We've got Kenneth Walker and Austin Eckler in at the running backs. We got Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill, and then Devonta Smith as our third wide receiver. Greg Olsen in the tight end with Khalil Herbert, Cordero Patterson, and Devonta Foreman in at the flex box, and Tom Brady in the super flex. That's looking pretty good, right?
Hard not to love that.
Yeah, nice. I'm happy with that. And now we're gonna pull that away. And well, this is like the main event, right? Which this is we decided we were trying to pick a league that we should decide Rich should do, and we decided to go for a league we've seen here before. It's the League of Extraordinary Hatchet Men, run by the great Evan Brown. And we actually found out that me and Rich, we're playing each other this week. And the best thing is, off air, Rich said I'm going to have complete control over who starts. And no matter what I say, it's got to be locked in, and that's what he's called. No. I'll try my best to give myself a loss in this league if possible. So let's have a look at who you got in here, Rich. You got Geno Smith, I think, is that up there?
Yeah.
We got Geno Smith in there. We've got in at running back. I'll let you run through it, actually, Rich. You're able to see it better than me.
Yeah, so we've got Geno Smith in at quarterback. So Deion Jackson and Cordero Patterson in at running back. Wide receivers, I've got Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Dalton Schultz at tight end. And then flexes, I've got Darrell Henderson, Michael Gallup, Drake London, and then super flex of Kirk Cousins.
Nice. So let's have a little look then at who you might start. And And actually, I wonder if I can do this for you, which this might be a little bit easier if I do that. So you're able to see yours, and I'll zoom in on mine, and you can change stuff. And because of the magic of Sleeper, it will just change on the bounce. So to start with, let's have a little look. Actually, we'll zoom all the way out so we can see my team as well. I've got a 54% chance of victory. Wow. And everybody knows that the Sleeper projected points are golden.
They're always right. They're always right.
So you've got in Geno versus Marcus Mariota. Now, Deion Jackson. To start with, quarterback, right? So you got Geno in there, and you got Kirk Cousins in the Superflex. Are you tempted to take either of those out for any of your replacements?
Not really, given that my alternatives are Sam Ellinger and Jacoby Brissett. I've got Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz, currently sat on IR. So for the time being, outside of bye weeks, it's pretty much plug and play with those two, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think it looks like that. But Geno Smith, how good has he been, by the way, right?
This is obviously a league that we started this year, and that's got to be one of the best picks. I think. I don't know where I got him, but I think it was probably late teens, if not in the 20s, in terms of rounds of the startup. And I don't think he's been out my started lineup the entire time. So,
absolutely light side pick as well. I picked up Marcus Mariota. He's not been too bad either, actually. Marcus Mariota,
very good.
All right, and at running back, you've also got Cordell Patterson, who we just spoke about. We all like it. Deion Jackson there again. Indy are just so tricky to figure out. Are you happy starting Deion Jackson there, or is there someone you would like to pop in instead?
I'm not. I'm never happy starting Deion Jackson. I think at the moment when I set this lineup, I think I was expecting Jonathan Taylor potentially to not play. Obviously, he didn't play last week. I think Jonathan Taylor's now practiced 2 days on the trot, so I may well need to replace Deion Jackson there.
Is anyone in mind that you would slot in, or are you happy just leaving him there for now, just to wait and see?
Well, I think the only other option I've got really is Darrell Henderson. I think the way I built this team was I was going to go productive struggle and just build around young wide receivers.
Yeah.
Which is why I've basically got no running backs, and then I got a little bit excited, shall we say, and traded away all my 23 draft picks for J.K. Dobbins and Darrell Henderson, and let's just say that hasn't worked out. So,
I've got so many J.K. Dobbins shares that I'm so sad. I'm so sad. Even after he got injured, I was sad about all my J.K. Dobbins shares, so I went and bought more. I just can't help myself. But he's so cheap. I'm like, I can just get him for cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. But I might regret that one.
I think I bought at the precise worst moment as well, because I bought him just as he'd come back. He played one game and looked all right. I went and bought him, and then he got injured again. So yeah, it's not been great for the roster, because that was a first round pick that went down the drain.
Yeah, hopefully he can come back with vengeance next season. So we'll keep Deion Jackson and Cordell Patterson there. Oh, you put in Henderson. Look at that. Henderson is in. I think that's maybe going to be the better call there. Henderson. I mean, the Rams are trying to ease Cam Akers back in, right? But Henderson just looks so much better than Cam Akers to my eye anyway. So he might be just fine there playing that running back position. And let's then have a look then at these. I mean, you weren't lying, right? You said you tried to build around wide receivers, and you got Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Jefferson there. I mean, that's you're gonna find it hard to find a better trio of wide receivers, especially if you look slightly to your left and you see the wide receivers that you're playing up against. Robert Woods, Isaiah McKenzie, and Julio Jones, who'll have a combined 5 points between them, maybe.
Yeah, it also hurts that I'm playing you. I've got T. Higgins and Garrett Wilson on bye as well this week. So,
oh wow, that is absolutely stacked room of wide receivers, and I'm hoping I won't end up starting Robert Woods again, because last week I had to start Robert Woods in a few leagues, and I think he got 0 points, which crushed me.
No wide receiver on the Titans quarter ball.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
I suppose they only threw 5 passes, so that's not really.
Yeah, it was pretty mad.
Yeah, it's not great. So, are you thinking about moving Ayuk or Lamb or Jefferson anywhere? Do you have any other things up your sleeve, or are you happy with those 3?
Though, I mean, it would be a case of moving some guys out of my flex, maybe bumping them up into that. But I think, as I said, for me, those are probably the 3 highest ranked players that I've got this week, unless there's somebody that you think that could potentially jump up into that top 3 category.
No, I'm not really seeing anyone there. I mean, those 3 are the best young receivers in the game, and I expect him to absolutely crush me this week, which is very sad. So we'll move on from those quickly enough, actually, Rich, if you don't mind. we'll go into the tight end position. You got Dalton Schultz in there at the minute. I think your other options in at tight end were Fortson,
not good,
and Johnny Smith and more like Cox is there as well. So I think you got to be pretty happy just having Dalton Schultz in there. Schultz have I don't actually have any Dalton Schultz shares, so I don't know how well he's been doing this year. I know it's not quite as well as last year. What's he been up to?
See, he obviously got injured. It was this PCL injury that he was able to play through, but I think definitely hampered him. It was like a 3 or 4 week recovery, and I think since he's recovered, he's definitely been better and has definitely been playing better. But yeah, it's been a little bit painful. Not what we'd hoped. Another guy that I think I bought at peak value because I was basically struggling at tight end. So I think I spent a second, a third, and a fourth on him. So probably not the best thing to do. I'm sitting here talking about buying low and stuff, and I've bought 2 guys that at the peak of their powers, basically.
Yeah, but you never know at the time as well, right? So that's
hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
All right. So Dalton Schultz, hopefully he can come back and start getting the ball a bit rolling again in week 11, hopefully, not in week 10, right?
Exactly that.
Next up, we've got the flex spots. You got Deion Jackson's in there, and you got Michael Gallup and Drake London, another great young wide receiver. And let's have a little scroll down at the bench and see if there's anyone standing out that would come on there in that flex position. And I think you're right. It's those guys that are on the bye weeks that would fill in. I mean, Juwan, really, is that right? We've got Juwan Johnson down for 10 points. Is that?
Yeah. So I mean, he's ranked. I've got him ranked reasonably highly. He's been pretty good the last few weeks, to be honest. So I've got him projected for 7.5 points. So not quite that. But if Jonathan Taylor is going to be a no-go, if Jonathan Taylor is going to play, as it looks like he may well do, I will. I'll be playing Juwan Johnson in that spot over Deion Jackson.
Lovely. And then we'll keep Michael Gallup locked in there and Drake London as well, doing well. And the last one is the quarterback, and it's between Kirk Cousins and Sam Ellinger. And I think Kirk Cousins has to be. Yeah, so it has to be Kirk Cousins. So that is your lineup there that's going to be playing against me, and I've got a few adjustments to make again. Hopefully, I can sort out my wide receiver room, but the other guys look okay there. So, well, man, I'm going to take that away. Let's have a little read through finally of the lineup. It's Geno Smith in a quarterback. You got Darrell Henderson and Cordero Patterson in at running back. Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Jefferson. Absolutely red hot wide receiver room. Dalton Schultz in at tight end. Look at that. He's gone in. Juwan Johnson has gone in at the flex position with Michael Gallup and Drake London. And then Kirk Cousins rounding up the team in the super flex position. That's going to be a close game, I think, right?
Yeah, very much so. And, I think we're both in need of a win, I think we could say, in that league. I think it's sort of settled out that there's basically 3 elite teams, and then I think there's you and I battling for playoff spots, and then about 4 or 5 battling for that last playoff spot as such. So it's every win's vital at the moment.
Yeah, it's super close in there, and that's a hard league as well, because like when you try and trade in there, I'm very aware everybody in that league knows exactly what they're doing. So I'm like, this is going to be hard to get any kind of value, right? Yeah,
exactly. I think it's fantastic that everybody knows each other. Everybody's is fully aware of everybody's content. You have a good take on a podcast on a Tuesday, and then try and make the trade on a Wednesday, and nobody's willing to make the move.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a good fun league to be in, definitely. And yeah, best of luck to you this week, Rich.
And you.
Yeah, and that that brings us to the end of the show. So just want to say, Rich, thank you so much for coming on the show again. Brilliant to have you back on. Do you just want to remind everyone listening where they can find you online?
Yeah, so first of all, Max, thank you so much for having me on. It's a great show. I love what you're doing. I think the YouTube content is best the best stuff that we see this side of the Atlantic. Absolutely. So keep it up. I really love it. If you want to, I'm on Twitter at Dynasty Islands. Everything's on there, to be honest. I've got my Patreon, my articles for DLF, my ranks and values over on #football, and as I said, the Tuesday pod for 5 Dynasty.
Absolutely brilliant. And just thanks again, Rich, for coming on, and thanks everyone again for listening in. And don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that stuff. And don't forget, behind me we've got the Hall of Fame still there. More likes this video gets on YouTube. Hey, let's see if we can get Rich up onto the Hall of Fame. All you got to do is hit the thumbs up button, and let's see how far you can take it. So until next week, guys, please remember, keep yourselves and your teams lit, and we'll see you next time.